Okay, obviously being closed-minded in the way that we understand it today isn't a good thing.
My life story. Yeah.
People who are closed-minded, they completely shut themselves off from any opposing worldview, except for maybe people that they already agree with. They completely shut out rationality altogether, and they absolutely refuse to be wrong under any circumstances. Clearly, those are bad things. Or are they? Yes. Yes, they are. At least on the extreme side of the spectrum, yes, those are very bad things. But there are ways that we can take these bad habits and make them good things. Obviously, people that embody all of these things, they're on the extreme side of the spectrum, and that's the area that we want to avoid. But really, everybody's closed-minded a little bit in some way, shape, or form. For the most part, being closed-minded for most of us is really just taking one worldview and sticking to it. Without some degree of closed-mindedness, we would always shift what we believe in, we would never be consistent, and we would never stand for anything. The quality of being closed-minded becomes a bad thing when we just kind of shut out conversation altogether and just reject everything. That's bad. So how do we make this a good thing? Well, first let me explain that when somebody accepts something as truth, they begin to assume that it's true, and they build on that truth. For example, if we were to assume that evolution is true, then we would start building ideas based on that. Like, we begin to accept the idea that animals that have similar DNA are probably related. Or the idea that traits that we or animals have are products of evolutionary process. And this happens because these ideas are built on the assumptions that we accept as truth. As we start to develop these ideas and build upon the assumptions that we accept as true, that's when the closed-minded nature begins to take defense on our understanding of the world. Now, this is all too easy to do when it's just happening, but when you're trying to do it on purpose, that's when it becomes hard. Okay, here's what I mean. Basically, this is step 2 of the postulate video that I did a little bit ago. If you haven't seen it yet, then click the link here and you can go watch it. We need to spend a good amount of time developing ideas about other worldviews. And we do that by taking different ideas that different worldviews believe and building upon those assumptions in sort of like a theoretical idea in our head. Basically, ask yourself, if I believed this, what would I believe based on this thing that I'm accepting as true? We need to start being closed-minded to other worldviews. I'm pretty certain that I just described open-mindedness. Well, okay, so what I'm not saying is just accept every worldview that comes along. What I'm saying is understand different worldviews and approach them as if they were true so that we can relate to the people that we talk to. In my personal opinion, I think that we should be able to argue in favor of different worldviews that we don't even believe in. And I think sometimes we should be able to do that better than people that actually believe in those worldviews. So what I'm not saying is be so open-minded to just accept everything as truth and explore it by experience. Okay, let me explain it this way. So C.S. Lewis created an entire world of thousands of years of politics and catastrophic events and wars and all of these creatures and people and all of these events, and he created it by building upon certain things that he created in his head. He took things and he was like, if this happened, then maybe this thing would happen, and created the story based on building upon certain ideas. He built upon an understanding of reality that is outside of what we interpret as reality ourselves. So while still holding to the concepts of truth that we accept, we need to be able to step outside of that and look at other worldviews the way that they look at them, the way that they understand them. I definitely think that it's important to have a good understanding of what most people that are within these worldviews believe, but I also think it's important for us to be able to come up with our own ideas about them. We should be able to come up with a coherent idea about what we should believe or what we would believe if we believed a certain thing. And we can construct that even if it's different than what everybody else believes that's involved in that worldview. Because it's all about relating to these people. It's not about building it up so that we can knock it down. So I write notes for my videos, but I guess I forgot to finish this one, so the rest of it is just gonna I'll wing it. Okay, far too often the idea of being closed-minded is generally understood as an insult. And they're like different traits that I can see that that's a bad thing. But the character of being closed-minded, or the elements of being closed-minded, I think it can be a good thing, and in a lot of ways is a necessary thing for us to do as we're figuring out what we believe about what we believe. That didn't make any sense. Okay, look, whether or not we'd like to admit it, whatever side we're on about any particular controversy, there are people that are smarter than all of us that come from different worldviews. And those people will come up with things that sound really convincing. But I think we should also do the same thing for how we think about other points of view. If we're making an argument, we should be able to step outside of our own worldview and think from the position of the person that we're arguing with, and recognize whether or not we ourselves would be convinced by the argument that we're making. And it'll certainly help us in making arguments that are more convincing, because we can criticize our own arguments from a different perspective. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I still haven't come up with a good outro yet, and I'm probably thinking about giving up pretty soon. But if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep seeing what I'm doing here. I'll see you on the next one.